Here we are again. Is there anyone here? Will I be able to see the comments this week? Am I going to play saxophone, or am I just holding this in a kind of vaguely musical pose? The serious saxophone player. Good evening, Pete, and good evening, Andy. Hi there. Gosh, you're right in on time. I started this at 1 minute to 8 just to make sure that I was here, and here I am, and here you are. And thank you very much, Pete. I shall have a great time with the birthday tomorrow, I hope. Again, absolutely nothing planned. As there's nothing planned for tonight, I'm just sitting here with a bunch of musical instruments and a pint of beer for a change. There we go. A break from my usual tradition of Diet Coke. Just a straightforward, classic, traditional, not allowed to use them in pubs anymore, pint mug containing a wonderful anomaly. Supermarket craft beer. Now, if that's not a contradiction in terms, I don't know what is. But it's a can of something called Hopstopper, made for Aldi by a craft brewery, and it's very drinkable. Little on the bland side, but certainly perfectly acceptable. He said, checking to see. Yep, seems to be all right. Okay. Well, yeah, I've totally not got anything planned for tonight. I downloaded a few jazzy, funky... Hi, Hugh! I downloaded a few jazzy, funky backing tracks this afternoon, since I felt in a funky kind of mood, so I've got those lined up. I could play to them. If anyone's got anything they want to hear, then do make a request. Requests? I've had a few. But then again, too few to mention. I do have the massive karaoke file available, so think outside the box. See if you can think of something that I might possibly know that I can have a go at playing. Or if I don't know it, I can have a go at playing it and making up a melody anyway. Why not? Why not? This is how lots of jazz compositions were put together. And the usual warnings. If I'm inaudible, if I drop into inaudibility, please do let me know, and I will fiddle with the microphone. It's only a quick reach away. So one thing I've not talked about, I think, in the course of the last year, and yes, it's been a year. Wow. I really didn't think when I did the first of these, and people said, "Oh, you must do some more. That was really great," which was strange, very, very, very nice of people. I really didn't think it would still be going 12 months later. But here we are, and here we are with the second birthday and the first anniversary. Steve, all right, mate. Ricky, how you doing? I thought you were going to be in a beer garden. Good to see you. Good to see you too. Are you actually on the telephone in a beer garden drinking beer? We're curious. We want to know. I'm sitting in my room drinking beer for a change. So everyone looking good, great. I suppose I could play a bit of music, except I haven't actually got a bit of music to play. So let me see what. Look in my folder and find out what I haven't actually got to play. Okay, what I shan't play then is a bit of Miles Davis, and before Hugh or anybody else who knows this, and I'm sure some people will know this because, let's face it, it is from the most famous album, probably by the most famous of jazz musicians, probably, and it's wrong. It's wrong. As soon as I started trying to play over it, for some reason, backing tracks and arrangements of this particular song always come out wrong. There's a section that tends to get missed out, and it's missed out. You're laying on your rather clean bed, sipping a gin and tonic. Yay, okay, that's acceptable as well. I hope you've sorted Rocky out with some suitable cat-like activities. Chambers Brothers, time has come today. Okay, let me look that up in a moment. I'm going to have a go at this, although with a saxophone hanging around my neck, and it has none, but I'm not going to play it on saxophone. I'm going to have a go at it on the recorder, and it's a misarranged version of All Blues by the great Miles Davis.
1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3.
I completely forgot that there was an intro, so I'll come in at the right time this time. Just thought I'd launch straight in. There we go. All Blues by Miles Davis. Very much a game changer in the world of jazz, switching the emphasis largely from soloing over the chords to soloing over the modes, over the scales instead. Introduced a whole different melodic way of doing things. Cut the cake says Hugh. Cut the cake, I might have. Sorry, cutting back. Oh, Rocky threw up all over the carpet. Oh, man. There's hairballs and everything all over the place. What's he been eating that's wrong? Because he's been going and stuffing himself. Oh, dear. Oh, I hope he gets to come in later on. It might get a bit cold this evening. Thanks, guys. That was thoroughly enjoyable. So, yes, all blues. A switch from a sort of music that's based around start again. The bebop improvisers of the 1940s were very strong on improvising over the chords. That is, they took the vertical harmonies of the music as their starting point for arpeggiating lines and solos over the top. Miles introduced a newer idea developed by a chap called George Russell, largely, who went off and had a huge influence on European jazz, living in Scandinavia for many years. And the approach there was, instead of the scales, take the modes, which are, if you're in a particular scale, it's got 8 notes, and you take the scale, and instead of starting the scale on the first note, you start it on the second note, but play in the key of the first note. It's impossible to explain this stuff. Never really worked out a way to explain this to people. But anyway, the emphasis was to turn soloing into a much more melodic way of doing things. Dave Fowler, good evening, mate. You awake? Are you feeling okay? I believe you were feeling rotten last night. Hope you're okay today. Another sip of beer. So yeah, no idea what I'm talking about tonight. All right, cool. That was that was very much. Thank you, Dave. That was very much a piece of. I like all these things, all these YouTube things. I just play them. You know, the whole recording process takes roughly as long as the tune is. I give it one take, tart the sound up a bit with a little bit of compression and whatnot, and that's about it really. And that was in particular was. As I noted, I think, in the text that I put up with it, that was a particular case of an originally slow song that got turned by jazzers into an up-tempo one where you actually end up carving half the melody out of it because it's just really too fast to deal with. Good, no sleep. Oh right, okay. Well, hang on. If you feel the need to go to sleep, go and get unconscious. So that was an enjoyable one, and of course I had a feeling you might react to the trapped nerve. Right, okay. I've actually had a bad back for about 9 days now. I'm sort of okay at this time in the evening, but then I'll lie down. If I try to get a night's sleep, I end up getting up and making large, noisy sound effects all over the house as I slowly creep downstairs and find some painkillers. That's great. Marvellous way to live. Hoping for something a little better for the birthday tomorrow. So, moving on from jazz and modes and miles. One thing I've never talked about here in a year, and it quite surprises me, but I've never really talked at all about comics, which I love passionately. I've been in love with comics, I think, since I first saw one at a very early age. I have a house full of the things. I have a passion for a narrative told by combining still images with representations of spoken word. It's about as simple a definition as I can come up with. It's a really quite complicated medium when you think about it. The thing is, most people in England certainly encounter them as kids, so they just take it in, don't question it particularly, and never question it later on. But it's a very strange way of telling a story. Pictures, words, which quite often double up on what you're seeing in the pictures. Anyway, comics. In my stairwell, and not being mobile with this computer thingy in mine, I can't really go and show anybody. But in my stairwell, up the stairs, I have 6 framed sheets of paper, which is a complete 6-page story from a Marvel comic, Millie the Model, 119, drawn and published in 1962, I think, just at the point when Marvel was starting to become Marvel Comics. That is the comic that published. Oh, start again. That is the beer. I'm blaming the beer. The publisher that brought you Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, The Mighty Thor, The Avengers, and all these characters who've been turning up in blockbuster movies for the last few years. In 1962, though, they were really having difficulty getting this stuff through to the market, and they were relying on comedy comics for girls. The girls' readership had basically got Marvel through the 1950s into the 1960s. This phase has been officially written out of Marvel Comics history. If you study any books written about Marvel in the last few years, you'll find barely a mention of the girls' comics, which kept the company going for at least 6 or 7 years. They were absolutely reliant on them. So I have this Millie the Model story, and it is actually, when I say I have it, what I've got on my wall is the original art, which requires some explanation of how these comics were made. In the Marvel style, the writer in those days, basically Stan Lee, who I'm sure some people have heard of. Alice posed a question here, we'll come back to that in a moment. So Stan Lee would write a brief prose synopsis of the story he wanted. He'd hand this to an artist who would turn it into a story of whatever length was specified, anything between 6 pages and 28 pages. Hand it back to Lee. Lee would write dialogue and captions into it. The artist would have drawn in pencil. Once the captions and the words were put in place, it was handed to another artist who drew over the pencil in ink, sometimes adding things, sometimes taking things out. This was then photographed to be transferred to a process block for printing. And that's the process of producing a comic. So you've got this original art, which is a page of pencils covered with black ink, and there's quite a hefty market for this sort of thing. And I have here in this house a 1962 complete Marvel Comics story, the original that they shot from. Interestingly, the story was reprinted a few years later in 1966 or 1967, and another artist went in and redrew a lot of the clothing to make it more fashionable, basically put all the characters in hippie styles, which is quite groovy. And it's a wonderful thing to have a comic, the original of a comic, up on the wall. I love it. Nobody else really knows what the heck it is. So, Andy, when do comics begin and graphic novels end? Is this just a definition based upon snobbery? Well, the term graphic novel originated in the 1980s to describe a trade paperback reprint of a popular run of comics. Examples would be Watchmen, which was originally 12 monthly comics, and then collected as a graphic novel. Same deal for Frank Miller's Dark Knight, which was the sort of very influential re-envisioning of Batman for the 1980s. Nowadays it's veered a bit. You now have people writing specifically in the novel format. There's no serialization for a lot of modern graphic novels. I think it's a marketing term, to be honest. It's, yes, novel, there is a degree of snobbery involved, I suspect, in aligning the comic with literature via the word novel. But essentially, it's a way of getting your books into the big bookshop trends these days. Your graphic novels, Borders have gone, haven't they? Barnes and Noble, Waterstones, Blackwell's, places like that are not really going to sell monthly comics, but if they're in a book form with a label graphic novel on, they'll find a shelf for them. Also, places like HMV, the Virgin shops used to do them. So yeah, very effective for marketing. Snobbery is definitely part of it. But there's a lot of good work that has come out in the last few decades that is not really ever intended for the kind of audience who read the old superhero comics. Superheroics dominated the American comics form from the early 60s through until well into the 80s. It's all moved a lot out from there, partly with input from the small press publishers, people who published their own comics and were picked up by other publishers who were interested in experimental work. The envelope's been pushed quite a long time, so there's a lot of things that you could conceivably describe as a graphic novel, and that it tells a long-form story. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, Andy. It's about the length. A true graphic novel tells a long-form story instead of telling it in brief episodes, which are always traditionally difficult to put together as a long form, because you've got to follow the industry tradition of having some kind of hangover at the end of each episode. Hangover is the wrong word. I'm drinking beer, can you tell? Cliffhanger, that's the word I'm looking for. And if you string 11 cliffhangers together, it doesn't read very well. So yeah, it's largely about length, and it's about getting them into bookshops, opening up different markets. Time, I suspect, for another bit of music. Hugh said, cut the cake. Do I have? Obviously I don't have. Hugh has, and that as well, yes, Hugh has a graphic novelisation of Macbeth, and there have been a number of adaptations of Shakespeare plays, and of all kinds of things, especially in Europe, where you've got a very different view of comics from what was going on in America. America produced cheap trash turned out by strict division of labour, whereas European comics developed, starting with Tintin. Tintin was originally serialised in a Catholic, the children's supplements to a Catholic right-wing newspaper, and as soon as the first adventure was finished, with a lot of readers very enthusiastic about it, they published it in book form. Hi Debbie! And that made a total difference. That from 1920 or so onwards, European comics were customarily collected in book form, were written to be put out in book form, and the book is more durable. The book has a place on your bookshelf. The slim paper-bound comic book doesn't have a place on your bookshelf. Created a completely different cultural understanding surrounding the idea of the comic. Whoa! I might need more than one pint of beer, possibly. Anyway, hope you're well, Debbie. Another bit of music. Hugh suggested cut the cake. Let me just go and have a look for it. Not that I can remember how it goes. Can I remember how it goes? We'll soon find out. If not, I'll just carry on playing over it anyway. Average, white band, and not so average black band. Yeah, there we go. Alright, let's give this a go then. Cut the Cake, or quite possibly just Smash the Cake to Pieces, by the Average White Band. Oh, well, yes, or as I say, mash the cake and just pick up pieces and shove them down your throat. Nick, hey! Yes, absolutely, I'm sure Trevor is shaking like mad. Yeah, Nick, good to see you. How are things? Trev's probably just hiding in disgust, I would think. Did I turn the microphone down? I turned the microphone down a bit. I had to do that rather a lot. Okay, that's better. That's up to vocal speaking level. We'll get it back down to something like saxophone level later on. That's okay, Hugh. That was an interesting choice. And have I ever played Cut the Cake before? Probably not. I'm relying on memories of listening to it at parties in the 1970s, really. And more beer. For those who've arrived late, here is today's drinking vessel containing actual alcohol for a change. And it's probably having a bit of an effect on... there'll be more bits of Gaz later, Steve. Stick around. So, talk about comics. What else? What else? I was wandering on about... Hugh, you posted on a thread on Facebook earlier on today about how it's one of those threads that said, what's your favourite film soundtrack? And I kind of went through the list of film soundtracks that I could see in various people's comments and went, yeah, they're all after like 1980. They're all from the last 40 years. Rob. I looked for Rob a few years ago. He was working, I think he was working freelance down south somewhere as a kind of motivational guru of some kind, which would make perfect sense, I guess. I sort of lost track with him. I saw him in London in 1983. Sorry, this is all Hugh and me history here. A chap we knew in Manchester in the mid-70s. I saw him in London. Met up with him for an afternoon in '83, but we didn't really click by that point. We drifted off in different directions and lost touch with him completely. I suppose I should have a look and see if I can find him again and see what's going on. He was very much Mr. Funk, was Rob. Of all our crowd, we were all listening to rock music. This guy was listening to the funky stuff, and we all picked up quite a lot of stuff from him, I think. Beat Girl is Andy's favourite film soundtrack album. Beat Girl, which is this? Okay, I'm totally ignorant on most modern films, so we don't know. Yeah, so we should try and find him, Hugh. So all these people were putting in, Platoon is my favourite film soundtrack, especially the Samuel Barber bit, somebody said. And then all sort of, Top Gun, great soundtrack, The Commitments, all the Blues Brothers, great list of 70s films that people were picking out. I popped in and put in Double Indemnity, which was made in 1944 by Billy Wilder with Fred MacMurray and I think Bette Davis. Transporting was great, yeah. Another from the same period. I went all the way back to 1944 because that's where my film taste tends to gravitate. I find old Hollywood films more interesting to watch than I find modern films. Partly because I don't like the unpleasant subject matter in modern films. I suppose I'm getting squeamish with older age, but I just find 40s Hollywood at its best, and there was an awful lot of trash being turned out, but at its best it's like fast-paced, clever, gets a lot of plot and a lot of ideas and a lot of action in with a minimum of fuss and bother, and I really find that quite enjoyable and stimulating. And Double Indemnity, Barbara Stanwyck was it? It was Barbara Stanwyck, of course it was you, not Bette Davis. But the score, Miklos Broš's score for it is wonderful. It's a Wagnerian epic. It literally tells another angle of the story, and it does it by connecting little themes, little musical themes, little fragments of melody and harmony with the characters in the play and the actions in the play and even the motives and the psychological stuff that's going on behind it. You get all that kind of thing being put out in the music, and once you learn to listen to it, it just enriches the film to such a degree, compared with, say, John Williams writing bombastic marches for Star Wars, which didn't mean anything at all. It was just big bombastic marches. Again, I'm an old opera fan from my teens. I like Wagnerian opera. I like that idea of music being allowed to tell the story instead of just providing an exciting, stimulating, aural or oral, depending how you wish to pronounce it, backdrop. Yeah, well, absolutely. Dig out a copy, Hugh. It's amazing. I need to see it again myself. I haven't seen it for a few years, and it is a wonderful thing. Beat Girl, 1960, John Barry soundtrack. Okay, yeah, we can live with that. That's actually back into my era of watching films. Okay, thanks, Andy. I shall put it down on the list and I'll have a look. John Barry, of course, turned out a bunch of classics back in the 1960s. Well worth having a listen to. I seem to have lost my picture. I don't know if that means that I've lost anything else, but I'm no longer seeing what's going on. Oh no, there it is. It's back again. Right. Okay. So there was a little whiffle about music for a bit. Play some more. I've got some. Let me dig back into this world of funk tracks. Can I play? Well, I've battered out one track from Miles's Kind of Blue, so let's have another. Let's have a go at another. This is the most famous of the lot, I think.
3, and
So what? See, the bassist gets all the work. And as I was so rudely interrupted by the music, that was So What by Miles Davis. And if I remember correctly, back in the early days of the Muffin Men, keyboard player Andy Jacobson used to do a kind of vocal version, which went something like, "I think I'll go and have a pizza. So what? I think I need another beer. So what?" And it all developed into singing songs about finding food to the tune of So What. Herbie Hancock's birthday today. She suggests Aha, and I have some Herbie Hancock stashed away in the file of funk tracks ready to unleash on you all in a little while. Alfie, wow. That would be an interesting one to have a go. Sonny Rollins' Alfie would be an interesting one to have a go at. I've been enjoying playing a lot of Rollins material lately, especially his pianoless stuff. It's really just fabulous playing with just the bass and drums. I think I went quiet then, so let me just turn up the microphone a little bit. Hope that's okay. Time for another beer. We've got 20 minutes. What else can I talk about? I had lots of ideas knocking around. but I'm not sure where they've all gone to. There was something I hadn't quite worked out the business I did a few weeks ago about recorded sound, but it has been occurring to me lately. I think I said this to you in a message a few days ago, something about my feeling that the entire history of the music industry has nothing to do with music, and it's very much concerned with quality of sound. Oh, Deacon Blues. Wow. Okay. Okay, we're piling up some requests here. I don't think I'm going to get the Rollins out, Andy, unless I have a score for it, because it's a heck of a complicated thing. It's quite goes off in some quite unexpected areas. We will do some Herbie Hancock and Deacon Blues. I wonder. Let me just have a look, because I quite fancy that. Deacon Blues by Steely Dan. No thanks. No. Really getting annoyed with the way that you have to click more and more times to get anywhere on places like YouTube these days. Click I agree on their cookies. Click no, I don't want to sign up. No, I don't want to sign in. No, I don't want a trial session with you. I just want to find a music clip. And I don't want a 5-second ad with Nigel Farage on the front of it either. But that's the way the world is getting to be. Deacon Blues. Is that a karaoke? Aha! I found a karaoke version. There is. God, I don't know how good these are. Let's try a bit.
We've just turned 50,
Sorry about this. This is the advert.
and to celebrate, we're offering any hot drink.
Go away. Okay. Deacon Blues. Let's give it a go. No, I can't remember the melody at all.
Grammarly can help you write quickly and confidently, so you never have to slow down at work.
And that's why you should never use YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, because it will suddenly cut you off right in the middle of the song to hit you up with another ad. Really annoying me these days. Anyway, that was a bit of Deacon Blues, as edited rather abruptly by good old YouTube. Wonderful. How are we doing here? It's a lovely, it's a good tune, Steve, and it's well worth listening to. Adria, the album by Steely Dan, came out in 1977. It's all very lush and melodic. First side's the best. Second side is not so good. Yeah, that was the problem a lot of people had with it at the time, Steve, that it all sounded a bit too kind of Hollywood. There are two kinds of Steely Dan fans. There are the ones who like mostly the first albums, and there are those who like the later work from the late 70s. I've certainly been in bands where there have been massive arguments going either way on that sort of thing. YouTube Premium. Why would I pay for YouTube, Dave? It's not as if I go and watch anything. Yeah, stuff that. I'm not giving them money just to get rid of their adverts. I'm just not going to use them very much in the future. I'll find a way around it. Grumpy old man talk there. So yeah, wow, time is passing. Time is moving swiftly on. So since I can't think of anything particularly to talk about right now, especially not birthdays, even though it will be mine in about 3 and a bit hours time, I suppose. But I'm happy. I've got my bus pass. I'll be getting my pension. Yeah, I really love to see Nigel. The two ads that get me, Dave, are A, the one with Nigel Farage on it, just because it's got Nigel Farage on it. And for those who say that his name is pronounced Farage, I say he's Farage. He rhymes with garage. It's a northern thing. Yep, something like that is quite possible. Alright, thanks Dave, I'll give that a try. And the other thing that annoys me most is the one that just interrupted the Steely Dan, and that is Grammarly, the app that will basically do your writing for you so that you don't have to learn the language that you speak. You can carry on speaking it badly. You can type with confidence because your nice little Grammarly app will do all your writing for you. No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. Anyway, Herbie Hancock. Herbie Hancock's birthday is today. He's still got 3 hours and 10 minutes to go. So let's have a go. Let's have a go at this. Is it in me folder? It is in me folder. Yes, fantastic. Right, okay. Let's have a go at this. A popular bit of funk. See how this one goes.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Should be able to tell her. And that was Chameleon by Herbie Hancock. Came out on the Headhunters album in 1972. Massive disco jazz funk hit. 15 minutes long when it started off. 15 minutes long originally. I have the single edit released at the time by Columbia, where they took it from over 15 minutes to 2 minutes and 50 seconds. A fantastic bit of editing. The result was virtually unlistenable, but no matter, it was a big disco hit. Right, where are we? Yeah, English is... we can speak English, people can speak English, but obviously people need an app these days to write English. I must go and look it up and see exactly what it is. I just keep getting repelled by the adverts and clicking stop when it gets to after 5 seconds when you get to the skip ads bit. Right, okay. Well, nearly there, chaps, nearly there. And just to carry on with a good thing, let's try a funky version of an earlier track, an earlier song by Herbie Hancock. He did funk this up at various times in the 80s, but it's one of his great 60s songs. Here it is in a funky version. Hi Tim, good to see you. This is Cantaloupe Island from the album Imperial Isles. I don't know where I'm supposed to come in with this song. Let's try it again, see if I can get the melody properly. Once again. And there we are. Ladies and gentlemen, two numbers by Herbie Hancock on the run. One from 1964, Hugh? I think it was 1964, and one from 1972. We're avoiding the bit when he went all 80s and started using... although I liked some of that. Rocket. Anybody remember Herbie Hancock's Rocket? A bit of a hit. A video with dancing skeletons. Very, very cutting-edge video technique for its time, which was about 1983, 1984. And production, basically backing tracks done by a band called Material, who were very good indeed. Produced the bassist and producer Bill Laswell, who went on to be quite a major figure in the 1980s, playing all kinds of music. My favourite stint of his is with the band Last Exit, which consisted of Laswell on bass, Ronald Shannon Jackson, who had at one point been the drummer for saxophonist Albert Ayler on drums, Sonny Sharrock, a guy who'd been shredding and doing feedback on record before Jimi Hendrix. Listened to Pharoah Sanders' album Towers from 1965 to hear some absolutely shattering, groundbreaking guitar playing. And who else was in there? Oh, German saxophonist Peter Brutzmann, who makes a louder noise than you can possibly imagine with just one saxophone. And their first album was their first gig, a recording of their first gig, for which they hadn't rehearsed. They were that kind of band and very much my kind of guys. The music sort of sounds vaguely like a car crashing into a wall for about 45 minutes. Fabulous stuff. Do check them out. One of the great bands of the 1980s that no one ever talks about. Right, there we are. Rocket. Yep, Godley and Cream did the video. Right, if I ever knew that, I didn't remember it. Right, thank you. Last Exit were brutal all the time, except their studio album. Their fourth album was a studio set, and that was a terrible mistake because they kind of went all coy and sort of played some nice bits, which wasn't what they were about at all. I absolutely loved it. I very nearly got to see them. Didn't quite. One of the gigs that I regret missing. Absolute one-off of a band. Still play their albums frequently. Right, well that actually brings us to past 9 o'clock. I've got another 10 minutes to waffle away if anybody's at all interested. If I can think of anything to waffle about, or do I have any more music that I could play? It's turned up being a very musical event, this one. Lots of music. That's what happens when I don't prepare a subject to talk about endlessly. I end up with lots of gaps and playing lots of music. But let's just see. Still pursuing my terrible habit of closing the essential folder with all this relevant stuff in and then having to go back and find it. Ah, there we are. Right. Yep. Okay. I'll take it out on another piece of music. I'm going to play this on recorder instead of saxophone because I've been playing this most of the night. And the recorder is just completely inappropriate. Right, okay. Now this is The Great Parliament with Flashlight. And I'm just going to jam over the top. Great from Chris. There you go. Very sudden cut off there. Blimey. Right, okay. And that was the Great Flashlight by Parliament. A recorder-based funk band would be a great idea. Making the recorder sound sexy. Crikey, Tim. Yow. I'll go on then. Right, okay. Happy birthday for tomorrow. Yeah, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Thank you. Heavy bit of Parliament there. A recorder-based funk band. Yes, that would be something to have a try at. Or a recorder-based. I didn't. In the whole course of the evening, I haven't whipped out the doobry. I fancy a funk band with some of these and recorders and dooblers. I'm sure it could be worked out. There you go, a little bit of Parliament on the Lorimer pipe, the doobry, basically a form of cornemuse. And that's it. That's it for this week, chaps, or this fortnight. It's now coming up to 11 minutes past 9. I'm going to go off, finish my beer. I've only drunk half of this during the last hour and 10 minutes, which is shocking. A recorder-based sexy funk band. Yeah, absolutely. I think, what can I say? Feel the pipe. could be a name for the band, actually. Hey, presenting tonight, we've got sexy recorder-based funk, 60 recorder-based, yeah, sexy recorder-based, sexy recorder-based funk from Feel That Pipe. I'm quite up for that. Right, okay, cheers everybody. Yes, going to finish my beer, going to get something to eat, and I'll have to thank you very much for being here, as always. Enormously appreciated. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I haven't been too approximate, slightly drunken, and random. But then again, am I ever anything else? Right, thanks, chaps. Take lots of care. We'll see you soon, speak to you soon, and look after yourselves. And since lockdown isn't going to be over, I'll be back again in a fortnight. Right, okay. Take care, and good night.